Well, welcome to another edition of Bolton In, all thanks to Palmerbet. And I tell you what, if you're not punted out at the moment, you're not Australian, to be honest, because it has been a massive, massive few days. We've still got 2 days of that famous Flemington Carnival to go, including Oaks Day tomorrow and then Champions Day on Saturday. It's going to be a beauty. Shane Anderson, as I say, a good morning to you from Copenhagen. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, really well, Matty. And what an amazing Cup day we had. Certainly was good to see a big crowd back at Flemington again, and a brilliant performance by Gold Trip to win.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to dissect the Cup in detail, but Adam McGrath all the way from LA this evening it is over there for you, Ads. How have you spent Cup week so far, buddy?
Well, it's been very busy. I've been working all the time. And you said when you're doing the betting, I mean, I don't even know what day it is anymore. You just literally look for the events. You know, it's Oaks Day next. I don't know but what day that is. It could be a Wednesday, a Thursday, or Friday, but you know what day the racing is. It's been plenty of it, a lot of excitement, and plenty to discuss still from the Melbourne Cup as well.
And it's amazing, isn't it, boys? Melbourne Cup Day traditionally, is a bookies day. They usually clean everybody out. And yesterday, or no exception, to be honest, it was just long price winners getting up left, right, and centre. And obviously, Deauville Legend was the big spruik, and everyone wanted to get on, and it just kept firming up and all that kind of stuff. But everything's wonderful in hindsight. We just had a little bit of a chat off air, didn't we? And both you blokes were super keen on Gold Trip all the way through. But at the final dance, we and I shouldn't probably even say that, we get off, don't we? It's frustrating at times, but that's the great game, boys, isn't it?
Well, I'm going to say that Shane bets with a little bit more composure and sense than I do. I just had enough of this horse. I had a dummy spit. I said, I'm done with you, and left it out. Shane, I'm hoping you actually did form and found reasons why you didn't have it in your four.
No, it was very similar to you. So if you're trying to make me out to be some wonderful no, Adam, I'll tell you what, though, watching the race unfold, you could sort of see by the time we got halfway, I thought you start trying to work out which horses look to be still travelling well and looking to go with some level of momentum. Got to give Mark Zahra credit. He got everything right with Gold Trip. The horse relaxed beautifully. He travelled superbly. And when he asked him for the effort at the top of the straight, we saw that proper weight for age acceleration. And even though he had the top weight on his back, he just zoomed away from his rivals. And I think all credit to him, he's a deserved winner.
And Shane, just on what you said as well, I know hindsight's an amazing thing, but you talked about Mark Zahra making the same and the right moves. Clearly riding him in the Caulfield Cup, the Cox Plate, sitting on his back. He knew what he had for this staying trip. He'd really formed that relationship with the horses. Some jockeys were hopping on their runner for the first time. And I think that really actually did pay dividends, as you said, throughout the race. You could just see he knew what he was feeling. He knew when he could go a little bit earlier compared to maybe if he had sat on for the first time, he might have sat there just that little bit longer.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And I think the other thing that really comes out about Gold Trip's performance was we're seeing a bit of a shift. The last 2 years, horses right at the top of the weights have been able to win the Melbourne Cup with ease. I mean, Very Elegant was a dominant winner 12 months ago, who Mark Zahra probably should have been riding, except he was on suspension. But then with Gold Trip again this year, with a high weight on his back, he was far too good. And look, I know we can say it wasn't the strongest cup field that we've seen, and I think that's clearly evident. But all credit to him. History of Flemington and the big race, we don't see horses lumping the top weight, the number one saddlecloth to victory. I think it's only happened 10 times in the race's history. So all credit to him. He's a worthy winner.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. There's probably a few anxious moments because in that Caulfield Cup, obviously hit the front. Durston swallowed him up that day. Hits the front in the Melbourne Cup. Misery, jumping out of the ground, kind of gets to his girth, and you can kind of see. And I think Kieran even said that, Kieran Maher, in his post-race interview. There's a couple of little edgy moments. Great story, Kieran Maher and David Eustace. They are absolutely flying. Good on them. Obviously a Warrnambool boy, Kieran. He's a beauty. He's just there's none better in my eyes at setting horses for feature races, whether it be a Grand Annual Steeplechase, a Grand National, a Melbourne Cup, a Golden Slipper. He just seems to just time it to the minute, doesn't he, boys?
Great point. I think you think of the history of Australian racing, we've had many top trainers. I don't think we've had many that have been able to be just as good with a sprinter as Kieran is, and he's won plenty of big Group 1 races over sprint trips with his horses over the last 15 years. But to get a horse to win a Melbourne Cup, he's won a Cox Plate, he's won a Caulfield Cup. And as you rightly point out, as a trainer of jumps horses, they haven't been any better in the games. He is remarkable. And Adam, from your perspective, I mean, that versatility as a training operation is superb. But I think he's gone to a whole new level since David Eustace has joined his team.
They really just partner so well together, don't they? What he doesn't have, Dave has. What Dave doesn't have, Kieran's got. If you need one to be a little bit calmer, one to be a little bit more flamboyant, they just work so perfectly. And I know there was talks of this partnership potentially was going to break earlier at the start of the year, or they might be looking to go their own ways. I think they're very happy that they've stayed on course because the results just continue to go. And Matty, I think it was you in our first ever show, you said, is there any better distance trainers going around? Well, I think the answer is no. I think they've answered that again. But as Shane said, I mean, we've seen it with sprinters, with jumpers. There's nothing these two can't do.
And Mark Zahra's a story too, isn't he? 12 months ago, Shane, you just touched on it, mate. Should have been riding very elegant, got the suspension, feeling sad and sorry for himself, hit the booze on Melbourne Cup Day 12 months ago. It's just a great story in itself, isn't it? And if anyone deserves it, I reckon it's Mark Zahra. It's been a tough old patch for him, but good to see him saluting and winning a feature race like a Melbourne Cup.
Yeah, Mark Zahra for a long time, and I know for most of my career, particularly when I was based in Melbourne covering racing, he's always been highly regarded as one of the best jockeys in the state, if not, one of the best jockeys in the country. But I think he's been well known for being a very patient rider. He's quite strong in a finish, but on occasion, it hasn't all just fallen into place with him in the big races that you kind of expected him to do really well in. But I think we're seeing a maturity now with him. And I mean, his ride on Gold Trip this week was literally one of the great cup rides. He gave that horse every conceivable hope. He did everything right at every step of the race. And it's good to see he's now got, one of the truly big races on the calendar next to his name.
What about the Beaten Brigade, boys? What are the horses we're going to follow out of the Cup moving forward? I reckon there was one that won a lesser race first up yesterday called Detonator Jack from that Kieran Maher David Eustace team that I reckon might be knocking on the door this time next year for one of these feature races. What are your two thoughts? I'll start with you, Ad.
Well, Detonator Jack was super impressive on return, as you mentioned. Johnny Allen just gave it an absolute peach of a run. Loved the turn of foot again for Kieran Maher and Dave Eustace. So we're talking that camp again. I thought it was a really strong performance to round out the card there. There was performances everywhere. Shelby 66 returning to run second again. The old country New South Wales horse was back in really good form. And I mean, even in the Cup, I was looking at my selections throughout the race the whole time, and I think I came 4th, 5th, 6th, and 8th. And I was watching a horse like Darkwing Sweet Jr., 60-1 running on into 6th. I thought it was a really good, commendable run. I'll be looking forward to seeing where it goes. High emotion with the lightweight. Yeah, what a story it was as well. So there were some really good runners out throughout the card, and thankfully we didn't get the conditions that we were worried about. I know it started raining throughout, but it did hold off, which was, I think, made the day probably more than anything else.
Shane?
I think you guys have mentioned Detonator Jack, and I certainly agree there. From the Cup itself, the winner, he's going to be hard to beat in the remaining sort of weight for age, middle distance staying races over the next 12 months. The place getters have both gone really well, but they were right down in the weights. Emissary in particular, I thought he was terrific, chased hard, and the third filly, she was really good too. But the favourite, Deauville Legend, he's done a phenomenal job carrying 55 kilos on his back for a Northern Hemisphere trained 3-year-old. When you consider it's probably 2.5, 3 kilos more than the usual weight a Northern Hemisphere 3-year-old would carry in that race and do well in. So whatever they decide to do with Deauville Legend, whether he stays in Australia or comes back in 12 months' time, I think he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. But to be honest, out of the race, I'm more than happy to stay with Gold Trip, particularly as he goes on towards races like, say, the Australian Cup in the autumn, possibly the Tancred up in Sydney, and who knows, maybe even a Queen Elizabeth as well.
Beautifully done. Well, I tell you what, boys, let's have a look and turn our attention to the remaining Group 1s and feature races. Oaks Day, of course, tomorrow. It's going to be obviously today when this airs, but the market, all thanks to Palmerbet, has She's Extreme as our favourite at $2.60. Zenzella was really impressive on Derby Day at $6. Queen Air at $7. Renaissance Woman at $8. Foxy Cleopatra at $8.50. Pavitra at $10. As time goes by at $14. And Let's Be Frank Baby at $26. I'm going to put it out there, boys. I've got an absolute moral here, and it is a horse called Queen Air from the Lindsay Smith game. I'll watch the replay. Seriously, they're coughing up $7. They've lost the plot at Palmerbet. It is giving away money.
Look, I love your confidence when it comes to anything Lindsay Smith. I must say,
I'm
And
a
look,
bit
you're
biased, I admit.
that's okay. There's nothing wrong with supporting a stable and expecting some good results. But look, I think Queen Air's got a legitimately strong chance in this race, particularly uh, every indication suggests that Queen Air is going to be one who will be pretty strong at the end of the race. But I've mentioned this previously in some of our podcasts throughout the spring. I quite often like to go back to some historical references and trends about particular races, and time again, the Wakeful Stakes proves to be the best form reference going into the Oaks. And for that reason, what was that?
No, I think just a little glitch there, mate. I think just something coming over.
The Copenhagen internet's just starting to drop out.
It must be. I'll blame Putin. No, look, historically, the Wakeful Stakes is the right form reference going into the race. So for that reason, I'm happy to be with Zanzella. I mean, I thought she did the job really well when winning the race on Saturday. If she can come through that, I think she's going to be right in the thick of things again. So I'm happy to have Zanzella on top. I know Adam's been very confident about the campaign. Look, she's a worthy favourite from the inside barrier. She's going to get every conceivable hope. I just think from a price perspective, she's not that attractive for me as the fairly short price favourite for a horse who hasn't been able to win so far this spring. So I'm happy to be with Zanzella as my best in the race. And to support you, Maddie, I'm putting in Queen Air as the value bet in the race. But I think it's going to be a really, really good contest, the Oaks, this year.
Ads?
Yeah, well, as Shane said, look, I've been with She's Extreme, so I won't be making the Gold Trip mistake here, because I do think She's Extreme's run in the champion was good enough to be winning it. I think with any luck, it would have got there and won that race. So I'm happy to be on it. This filly stretching out from barrier one, Tommy Berry in the saddle. I think it ticks a lot of boxes. I do really agree with Shane, though. I think 260 is way too short. I'd want $3 plus on the day. I'd be hopeful we could get that. And for that case, despite that being my top bet, my value bet is Queen Air. Can't believe the $7 is up for grabs. Attacked the line strongly in the Wakeful and said, give me that extra distance. It was the one that I was looking at from that run as well. So that is also my value bet going into the race.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I reckon the guys at Palmerbet are going to get absolutely fleeced if they're going to keep putting up $7 for Queen Air.
They might ban you from betting the way you're talking. You're going to push it into $4 before we finish.
It's my best bet. My best bet, boys. I'm not going to change, and I think the track's going to dry out, which I think will even make me more keener tomorrow. So that's the way I'm going to be going. Let's move along. Saturday's racing. It's Champions Day, of course. It is going to be an absolute ripper. And the weather forecast too, gents, it looks sensational. So it's actually on the improve, which is great. Might I say, Liam O'Keefe and the whole team at Flemington have done an enormous job with that track this week. Really held up well. But let's start off with the Champion Stakes. So these horses have been going at it for the last 4 or 5 weeks. It's been brilliant to see. Anamo's our favourite, all thanks to Palmerbet at $2.25. I'm Thunderstruck at $3.90. Zaki at $8. Miunga at $10. Elliptical $14. Hinged $18. Mr. Maestro $21. And Maximal at $31. Is $2.35 Adam McGrath a luxury for Anamo? Or is $3.90s for I'm Thunderstruck overs? What are your thoughts?
I'm going to go the I'm Thunderstruck way. And the reason for this is, as we talked about going into the Cox Plate, we talked about taking those early prices for Animo, that $3.50 before the previous run. So I think $2 again with this type of field. I just think it's too short when you do have such good horses going head-to-head. So for that reason, I'm going with I'm Thunderstruck. We know we've been throwing this out a bit throughout the preparation. Everyone saw the Cox Plate run. It was huge. Mark Zara, full of confidence, bigger track. I think that's really going to suit. And the drying conditions, I do think it's going to be beneficial as well. That was on a heavy 8 at the Valley last time. So I'm Thunderstruck for me to beat Animo. And my value runner from the race is going to be Elliptical. Look, I couldn't really find a value runner. We're looking for something $10 plus. I've gone Elliptical. I don't think it's up to an Animo or an I'm Thunderstruck. But with the lightweight, Craig Williams is riding as good as anyone. We know this horse handles the conditions. For mine, it was a logical one if you are looking at a $10 plus price. But the only bet I'll be having in the race will be on Thunderstruck.
Shano?
Yeah, make a really good case for I'm Thunderstruck there, Adam. But I'm going to stick with Animo. He just keeps winning. It's to me a telling factor. I thought he was terrific in the Cox Plate. The margin wasn't great, and the red light special was was on I'm Thunderstruck, who did an enormous job to get as close as what he could over the concluding stages. But I think Adamo was super brave on that occasion. He made his move at the right time, and he was able to hold off the wall of challenges over the concluding stages. Every weight for age contest he's gone through the spring, he's been able to come out on top. He's got fighting qualities. He's outstanding. And yeah, I'm happy to side with him. I think he can win. And I'm going to steer away from I'm Thunderstruck. My view is that I think he is a little bit tight in the odds in my assessment, just because, he's running really well, but he's just not getting the job done. And the market's got him really tight there at sort of $3.90. And I think the horse that's now come out to be a really big price is Zaki. Zaki was very good in the Cox Plate. He led, set the tempo, was only swallowed up late in the piece to run fourth. His performance before that in the Might and Power was good. The runs before, all the way through the spring, have been rock solid. I think he's the one that's jumping out as a little bit of value for mine. But, you can make a case for a couple of the others. I mean, Moonga, who we've pushed a few times at a big price in some of these races, as Adam says, Elliptical, certainly a very, very promising 3-year-old. And I thought Hinge was quite good the other day as well. But I think clearly, to me, Animo has been the benchmark horse all the way through. I'm not going to steer away from him now in the last of the big ones. He's my best. My value now, Zaki.
Well, I reckon if you just look at that Cox Plate form, that run of I'm Thunderstruck was enormous. Gold Trip was obviously swinging in behind, had no luck, kind of been franked a little bit for mine, and that hence why I'm going to stick with the big baldy face of I'm Thunderstruck. He's he's an absolute beauty of a horse. What about the championship sprint, guys? This is going to be an absolute belter, and the market, all thanks to Palmerbet, Nature Strip at $2.10. Geiger Kick, the Everest winner, at $5.50. Bella Nipotina at $6. The Manicato winner, Paul Lally, at $19. Front Page at $21. Rothfire at $26. Rockin' Horse $26, and Levante at $26 as well. Shane, this is going to be an absolute ripper. It's just going to be a massive crowd there on Saturday for mine, watching all these wonderful horses go around. What do you reckon? The young rising star, can they do it again, or will the old veteran get the job done?
A little bit like myself, I'm holding the old hoping the old veteran will hang on and win in Nature Strip. Look, the more I've gone back and watched the replay of the Everest, the more I've felt that he was actually terrific on that occasion. He did a fair bit of the bullocking up on speed. He went for home at the right time. He really put a margin on his rivals there for a bit, the old Warrior Nature Strip, and then they swallowed him up late. And the form out of the race has proven really good. Private Eyes come out and won very, very well subsequently in the Nature Strip. Look, I'm happy to stick with the champ. Around that $2.10 mark, yeah, he's probably where I want him to be from a price perspective. At least we're getting him in the black at the moment, over even money. So I think Nature Strip, for me, his best still is the best in the race. Geiger Kick, terrific. He's proven down the Flemington Straight, great in the Everest, coming from the clouds, and just a remarkable performance to win. But now he's really tightened up in the odds. For me, I think Nature Strip's still the one to beat. Geiger Strip, probably the value. I don't have any interest in any other runner. I don't think we'll see any other runner test those two. So I'm happy with Nature Strip as my best. Geiger Kick certainly is a little bit of the value bet in the race if you want to steer away from the favourite. But to me, I think Nature Strip might win this and might win it easily.
You going the same way, Ads?
Absolute rinse and repeat. I've watched that race again, and for mine, I thought Nature Strip was absolutely huge, and it's probably just because it is Nature Strip and Everest. We've seen some negatives, but as Shane said, I thought did their hard work there, had Eduardo pressuring it. I don't think lost any admirers. Third up for Nature Strip's a big tick. I think the old boy is just going to flex his muscle a little bit and go, Giga Kick, you're a nice horse coming through, but on my day, I'm still going to put you in your place. So Nature Strip for me, the value bet, and the only horse I think can win is Giga Kick as well.
Beautifully done, boys. Let's have a look at the Champions Mile over the 1,600 metres. Private Eye is our favourite, all thanks to Palmerbet at $3.20. My Oberon at $4.20. Cascadian $5.50. Alligator Blood at $6. Mr. Brightside at $6. Tuvalu at $12. Aegon at $34. And Kiss Some at $41. Adam McGrath, a pretty handy field assembled here too for the Champions Mile.
Yeah, it really is. And this is a case for me of just being an absolute slow learner. I'm going to put my hand up and say I haven't respected Private Eye for a long time, but it's time now to say this is a serious horse. Second in the Stradbroke, winner of the Gilgai, second in the Everest. Impressive win last time when just absolutely making it look like Marzu and the team were standing still. So for mine, this 5-year-old gelding has taken 10 wins for me to get on board, but Private Eye is clearly a serious horse, and I find it very hard to go past in this race. I think getting out to the mile is only going to be beneficial. The drying conditions won't be an issue either. This horse has got a great record on a good track and soft track as well. We've seen that. So on top for me, and the value runner will be from the Lindsay Smith team, Tuvalu, who I think will also appreciate the conditions getting a little bit better. Great cruising speed, winner of the Toorak in the mile, saved up. We know that if they're running, they're clearly going to be happy and believe he can get through those conditions. That'll be a big enough tick for me. If Lindsay Smith says, let's go, I think he can run a nice race.
Shane, what about you, mate?
Yeah, bit of rinse and repeat as well. Private Eye, I've got marginally on top. Love him. He's just a fantastic horse. His form through this campaign has been terrific, whether it be in the sprint races. Of course, he's been sort of rejuvenated a little bit as a sprinter throughout this campaign. Loved his win in the Nature Strip. His run in the Everest was outstanding. And he's another one that is proven at Flemington and proven at the mile. So I've got Private Eye just on top. I think the big danger here is Alligator Blood. From barrier number 3, Tim Clark will have this horse sort of rocking and rolling from the outset. He'll bounce on the lead. He's coming through the Cox Plate, which, is probably still the premier weight for age form reference going into this meeting. And I think at around that $6 mark for Alligator Blood. That's pretty good each way value for a horse that's, he's just a terrific horse, outstanding weight for age horse. They're the two I'm most interested in. Make a case for a few others. Aegon and Tuvalu, as Adam pointed out, I think they're going to run really well. And even Mr. Brightside coming through the Cox Plate also. But yeah, I've got Private in front. And, for me, Alligator Blood probably at that price is a really good value each way bet.
I don't want to get on the Lindsay Smith wagon again, but
you got a double going?
Palmer
bet double?
Has not been out of the placings, that horse, though. And I reckon just drawn to get an absolute nice slide across. And look, by all accounts, the horse has done really, really well. So,
Matty, are they still thinking of going to the railway after this with Tuvalu?
I'm unsure. I think that might be off the radar, Brad. So I think they were happy to go this way and then maybe put the horse away and then come back for some nice races over the autumn. So you're probably going to get $3.20, $3.50 the place.
We just see your betting play win and place.
Well, it's giving away money, I reckon. But it all sounds good in theory, you blokes. Hey, listen, let's move along to some Sydney races. Golden Gift on Saturday. In the field, all thanks to Palmer Bet. Summer Loving at $4.20. Barber at $5. Coincide at $5. Disneck at $6. Infatuation at $10. Charmstone $11. Razors at $12. And Shine Your Lights at $12 as well. What are your thoughts, Shane Anderson? I'm going to come back to you, mate, on the Golden Gift.
Of all the races this weekend that we've got, this is the one that I've got the least interest in.
I must.
Is that because it's the hardest?
Realistically, we've got very little exposed form to go off. We've got, horses that have clearly trialled. We've got horses that have had one race start. It's a high prize juvenile race very early on in the season. From what we've seen, I think Barber's probably at a backable price. Really good performance when winning on debut. The Godolphin 2-year-old drawn out wide, and that's probably one of the reasons why we're getting a bit more of an inflated price about him. But it's of all the races this weekend to have a play, it's probably one I'd prefer just to watch and try and learn a few things rather than have a bet. But for the purpose of trying to find a winner in the race, if you are keen on one, Barber did the job well enough on debut. Margin wasn't great, but really strong. Probably comes on again. Most Godolphin 2-year-olds improve from first start to second start and then continue to improve a little bit more through their preparation. He gives the impression that he's going to have a decent future. So at $5, if you want to have a bet in the race, is probably the way to go for me, but not the most interesting betting race of the weekend for mine.
Ads?
Yeah, well, I did the old speaker. I mean, it's his podcast at the moment. I did the Lindsay Smith Melbourne Cup thing through the dart and landed on number 15, Summer Loving, and that's the way that I'm going here. Look, of course, Mum Serena Bay won this race in 2016, so that would tie in nicely for a good little story, 6 years apart there if they were able to do that. I liked the trial back on the 21st of October. I thought that was really nice. It was a $425,000 purchase. Regan Bayliss is riding well, a lovely filly by Exceed and Excel. So I'm going to go her on debut to run a nice race. The other one that I thought was pretty unlucky on debut was number 12, Infatuation, a filly by I'm Invincible, Bjorn Baker, Rachel King combining. They've got barrier 4. It finished 2 lengths behind Barber. I think it would have got a lot closer if it had got some room down the straight on that occasion. So I think it can run a nice little race, Infatuation. It's roughly about $10 at the moment, but I'll be going with Summer Loving for Gay Waterhouse and Adrian Bott here.
Beautifully done, boys. Let's have a look at the 5 diamonds now. Rose Hill, race 8, Saturday. The market, all thanks to Palmerbet. Ellsberg's our favourite at $2.45. Laws of Indices at $5.50. Ayrton $7.50. Uncle Bryn at $10. Diamel at $11. Rustic Steel $12. Shabak at $16. A new mandate at $21. Adam McGrath, what are your thoughts on the 5 diamonds?
I'm going to go with Law of Indices, and the reason why, I mean, Ellsberg has done nothing wrong. What a campaign it's been for that horse. But if I'm throwing out horses like Tuvalu, and then we're also talking about that Animo and on Thunderstruck form, it was pretty hard for myself to go past Law of Indices here. Hasn't won for almost 500 days, but Annabelle Neesham's team is firing. We've seen that across the carnival. Huey Bowman takes the ride. I'm not too worried about the barrier. They'll slot back worse in midfield and try and get a nice run into it. And I think this horse is ticking along really well and will be very hard to beat. So I've got it in to be winning the race. And the value bet that I ended up coming up with was number 10, Zabaka. Dylan Gibbons and Annabelle Neesham. Again, what a great opportunity it is for this apprentice. And I know we started the series talking about some young riders coming through and getting good opportunities. And it's a great opportunity for him as well. This horse has been super, this preparation. Second at Rosehill to start, was then second in the Diamond Prelude and third in the Big Dance behind Rustic Steel. And I thought it was a really good run on that occasion over the mile. So I think this race suits up really well for it, getting the extra 200 metres. And I think at a nice little price, the Bark's about $16 at the moment. I think it can add to its already pretty impressive record.
Shane?
Yeah, good shout there with Sabak. I think he's going to run a really big race as well, Adam. And you're right, at about $16, probably a really good each-way option. I'm with you with Laws of Indices, my best for this race. I've looked at it in a few ways. I think Ellsberg probably gets a fairly good run on speed again. He's been in great form throughout. Ayrton probably improves dramatically now, fitness-wise, coming to this third up. But I just think Laws of Indices gets into a pretty good spot from a map perspective. I know he's drawn out wide, but Huey's got a few options with him to go forward or to settle just off the speed. His run in the Cox Plate was really good. He was only beaten 2.5, 3 lengths. On that occasion, I actually pushed him as one of my value bets in the Cox Plate. So if I thought he could run really well in a Cox Plate, and he did, I'm more than happy to be with him in this race as my best. So Laws of Indices at around that $5.50 mark, I think is a really, really solid bet. My value bet, I'll put in Ayrton at $7.50. As I said earlier, I think he's ready to really show something now, third up into the campaign. He was good behind Ellsberg, wasn't beaten too far in the lead-up race. Overall, throughout the spring, Mick Price and Mick Kent have had their horses going really well. Sam Clipperton, I think, will be able to, more than likely have this horse fairly handy to the pace. I don't think they would want to allow Ellsberg just to get a cheap run up in front and sort of control things. So I'd like to see Ayrton handy, make his move at the top of the straight, and hopefully he's going to be right in the thick of things. But Laws of Indices, my best, the value bet there, Ayrton.
Beautifully done. That is the feature race, of course, this weekend. What else you got for us, Adam McGrath, around the country Saturday, mate? You got any special best bets for us?
Yeah, no prices out yet for Ascot, but we'll be turning our attention to race number 7, and it'll be Rock'n'Nori. They've got a wide draw to deal with, the barrier 14 there, Paul Harvey in the saddle, but this horse has come back really well. It was a brilliant run over 1,000 metres, wants a bit further, got a lot of time for this horse. It knows how to win. So I think race 7, Rock'n'Nori, will give you a really good sight.
Shane, what about you, mate?
Yeah, I don't mind one in at Rose Hill in race number 3, our candidate from the Chris Lee's stable. Dylan Gibbons takes the ride, claims, I think, 2 kilos on him. And look, I thought his performance when winning last time out in the Cessnock Cup was really good through the heavy going. He was a short price favourite on that day. He really had to fight strongly to win the race. But I thought the way Chris Lees gets his horses to continue to progress coming into this third up to a trip that really should suit, I thought he's a pretty good bet there, our candidate in race number 3 at Rosehill.
Yeah, beautifully done. I'm keen as on Queen Air, of course. I reckon we'll get the job done. I like one from the Matty Williams yard. Torregine scratched at the barriers last start, so missed a run. But by all accounts, this horse is humming along about $5. I think it's in about race 3 or 4 on Saturday at Flemington. So a Torregine from the Beetroot Williams stable for mine. Hey, listen, gamble responsibly. That is a key message. All thanks to the crew at Palmerbet. Hey, and we've seriously had a ball over the last kind of 6 or 7 weeks, guys. Been great to catch up with you two legends of the game. Shayna, of course, heavily invested in the industry, mate. You're doing wonderful things over in Copenhagen. Hopefully, we get to see you back in Oz Sunday soon, mate. Is there any chance we can get you back over here, or what's going on?
Oh, look, I might come back for a little holiday sometime in the next few months. But no, very happy in Europe at the moment, Matty. Life's good. Not sure about these early starts at the crack of dawn, but it's great talking Australian racing, because it is, without a doubt, still the great racing nation, I think, in the world. There's a lot of detractors at times, but I think above and beyond, racing in Australia every day of the week is high class. And that's the one thing I love talking about is Australian racing.
And Adam McGrath, of course, based in LA now, mate. You love the world racing, don't you, mate? And that's your business now. That's what you're into. And you'd obviously concur with exactly what Shane said there. We're pretty lucky. Our racing in Oz is absolutely fantastic, isn't it?
100%. Always great to look back at the Australian racing. Great to work with you two again, like we were able to a couple of years ago. So a big thank you to Palmerbet for that opportunity. And hopefully we found a few winners and maybe 5 more to come this weekend to keep us going for next year, potentially.
Yeah, but we might be relying on this weekend, I reckon, to get us through. But hey, listen, download the app, get involved with the crew of Palmerbet. They're a magnificent organisation. They love supporting all things as well, which is great to see. But do it in a responsible manner. Boys, wonderful stuff, and look forward to catching up soon.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of the carnival.
Great working with you guys. Good luck, everyone.